What's going on, Falcon fans? This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today, guys, we're gonna take a look at the Falcons through week 9. All right. What we kind of conduce from this whole little football season so far. Like I said on multiple shows, that the Atlanta Falcons, not mathematically eliminated from anything. They still have a lot of football that's ahead of them. They got 9 games left, so they still have opportunity. To be honest with you, to if they win out, you know, they can win 12 games. So just put that in perspective for you, how you want to put it. So the Atlanta Falcons do have a chance. You guys know my feeling about this season. There you have it. But we're definitely going to get into some things today. First of all, we're going to talk about the trade deadline. Ended at 4 o'clock today. Our Atlanta Falcons did not make any moves. We'll talk about that. Also, talk about some roster moves today that Atlanta Falcons made. Heading to week 10 of the season, going to um, overseas to play the Indianapolis Colts. Make sure you guys over early on Sunday. It's a 9:30, kickoff. So make sure you're there to watch our Atlanta Falcons play. Hopefully, they get a win. We just have to see what happens with that. Then we're gonna talk about just, you know, like I said, the first 9 weeks of the season, and about the Atlanta Falcons. Why in my opinion, just feel like it's just one of the most frustrating seasons. I have been part of. Um, coming this season with so many different expectations for this team, and then through week 9, last year in week 9 we were 6-3. This year we're 3-5. Um, just is not where we wanted to be as a team. So a lot of things that when we talk about winning football, we're going to definitely get in that today. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, guys. Definitely want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts, on these Atlanta Falcons coming in week 10, going to play the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday morning. So with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys are here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come here and talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So let's get into the trade deadline. There was a lot of trades made today. Kind of remind me a little bit of the NBA, during the trade period. Usually, in NFL, it's not a whole lot of trades, right? Because NFL is so, you know, of a sport, so detailed of a sport. Bringing another player in to your system that you went through OTAs, training camp, and all that stuff with, and trying to implement them into the system middle of the season is kind of hard. So that's why you don't see a lot of trades. However, this year it was so many trades, and and we talked about Atlanta Falcons being buyer sellers. I felt like it was a lot of teams that was buying, and it's really trying to compete this year to make some moves. Look at the moves the Dallas Cowboys made. Look at the moves the Seattle Seahawks, the uh, the Seattle Seahawks, the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to talk about our next opponent that we got to play. Um, San Francisco 49ers made deals. Baltimore Ravens made deals. Cincinnati Bengals. It was so many teams that was, making deals. Some teams was trying to actually go for it. You can look at the moves they made. We had the Chicago Bears searching for a pass rusher. Um, like I said, you had so many teams going for it. So they were sellers. I mean, they was buyers, right? You look at New York Jets, a team that, in my opinion, were more sellers than anything. Now they was able to clear a lot of cap space, and they, the next 2 seasons they got 5 first round picks. So um, it looks like they're in a rebuild mode, even though the general manager for the New York Jets said that they're not. But getting away your star cornerback, and then one of your guys in the middle, one of your best players in the middle of the defensive line, is saying a lot. So um, we'll just have to see how that goes. But you know, um, so they were sellers, but there was a lot of teams that was buyers, and it kind of put in perspective. We talk about our Atlanta Falcons. I felt like after the loss we had against the Miami Dolphins, they probably should have been more sellers than anything. Then we lose in New England Patriots, so I definitely felt like they should have been sellers. For one reason, because you know they don't have a lot of draft capital as it is, right? Um, so they would try to recoup some of that. As you guys recall, we did get rid of our first round pick for next year. So you want to try to create some draft capital because if anybody knows, building a team, you have to do it through the draft. And you supplement it with through free agency. So you try to build your team through the draft. And you can see Atlanta Falcons the last 2 years, in particular, they have built a nice young core of players that they can actually build this team around. So you do like that, but so going into the draft is where you want to go. So that's why I felt like the Atlanta Falcons should have been sellers, because I just feel like they're going to have to lose some of these guys that's coming up on contracts in a year. You got Tyler Algier on his last year's contract. You got um, Caden on last year's contract. You got Kyle Pitts on the last year of his contract. So those some guys just to look at. You had Kirk Cousins. Um, don't know how if you could ever got rid of that contract in the first place because the Falcons was not willing to take any of the money on that contract. So it was some guys that Atlanta Falcons definitely could have been sellers on and actually recoup some draft capital for next year. Um, and then they felt like they had opportunity to compete this year, which obviously I don't think they did. That's why they wasn't buyers, right? We kind of felt like we needed some help in the linebacker room. You saw Logan Wilson went to the Dallas Cowboys. Um, could have been a good guy for us to try to bring in as well. We saw some receivers go. We do need receiver help. We saw some receivers get traded as well. So it was a couple of positions. The Falcons felt like they had opportunity to go for it. I feel like they probably should have been some buyers, but more than likely, I really felt like they should have been sellers in this moment of time because the way the season is going, and for me, I just don't see the Atlanta Falcons win enough games to get themselves into playoff contention. So probably should have been sellers. And then if you go ahead and recoup some draft capital off of Tyler Algier, because more than likely Tyler Algier probably won't sign back Atlanta Falcons because he's the number one running back in this league, and the team going to offer him, a bigger contract. He's definitely going to take it. Army Katie, just an odd man out. We brought in 2 first-round picks in your pass rush. You still got Braden Trice on 2 years left on his contract. So you don't. It's just you're just looking at a guy like Army Katie. He seemed like he's going to be the odd man out. Kyle Pitts. They picked up his 5th-year option, but he's in his 5th year. They hadn't offered him a contract, and he might feel like he can get, a bigger deal somewhere else with a better opportunity. You just don't know. Now they could, franchise tag Kyle Pitts, and work out a deal that way. And they franchise tag him, he'll be stuck here for another year. So they could go in that direction if they want to do it with Kyle Pitts. But we'll see. But that's a lot of money tied up, in a player that obviously you don't believe in because you won't give him a long-term contract. So we'll just have to see how that pan out. But if they was not considering keeping him, you would think they would want to get some draft capital, or some assets back for those guys. So obviously the Atlanta Falcons did not make any trades. Now, if you want to take a list, go look at the list of all the guys that were traded throughout the league. I just tell you to go to NFL Network, NFL app or whatever, and just look at all the trades. So a lot of trades that I think this might have been the biggest trade season I've ever seen in the NFL. Now, because man, a lot of players moved. Now they got to learn new systems and things like that. It's kind of harder, in my opinion, in NFL to move teams like that than like in the NBA or something like that. But we'll see how these teams. But a lot of teams is going for it. A couple teams that still on the Atlanta Falcons schedule that we're gonna have to deal with now, which I feel like they got better. You look at the trade that the Seattle Seahawks made, getting another receiver. They're gonna be fast, man. They get Sherrod out of New Orleans. That's gonna be a fast team we got to deal with in that passing game. And then you go to the Indianapolis Colts to trade for Sauce Gardner. So now we got to worry about him on that part of that defense this upcoming Sunday. So it's just some of the things you look at. I was like, man, you can't take a break. So that's where it is, guys. Um, I kind of felt like the Atlanta Falcons should have been sellers, but they decided not to be, and we'll just see what happens the rest of the season. I'm gonna keep saying it until until they're not right. They still got a chance to do it. Like Atlanta Falcons, we seen crazier things, man. Like they if they win out, they win 12. They win 12 games. They beat 12-5. Right? It could. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I don't even believe that's gonna happen, but they still got opportunity. If they believe, we'll see what happens, man. I just don't see it. I just think it's too many issues. We're gonna talk about that in just a minute. So, um, but that's where I'm at with it. Atlanta Falcons probably should have been more sellers than buyers. Look at some of the um, comments here before we get into the next topic. Getting tired, Raheem saying a whole lot of nothing impressors. Me too, man. It's I kind of just kind of going in one ear out the other now. Don't be talking about crap. It's a waste of time. We got to find a way to win games. He says that's been the same thing for one. Exactly, man. Like, we're gonna talk about winning football in just a minute. Um, what's going on, Thomas? T. Terry said I knew the Falcon wasn't going to trade for no one because Morris and Terry might not be here next year. This yeah, true that. So that in my opinion, they probably should have been buyers then. Try to say they jobs because if they feel like they weren't gonna be here, man, go all in. Shit, I ain't gonna be here. Mess up the cap. Do something. Maybe they couldn't do it. Arthur Blank wouldn't let them do it. I don't know. You might be right, but whatever the case is, they decide to stand pat with a team that's man. We're gonna get into that right now. So, gonna go ahead and get into the next topic. Um, and the roster moves that we heard today, right? So, first of all, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons signing an offensive lineman, Andrew Stubert, a guy who was with the Atlanta Falcons on their practice squad. So he has been in this system on a under our offensive line coach. So we know he knows the system. This guy has traveled. He actually got drafted by the New England Patriots in the 7th round. He played with the Cincinnati Bengals. We know how bad the offensive line was. So I don't know how much this guy is going to help the Atlanta Falcons because we know how bad the Cincinnati Bengals lines were in the last couple of years. Getting Joe Burrow destroyed back there. But the whole idea of signing an offensive lineman is kind of scary because we had 2 offensive linemen go down in the Patriots game. Our All-Pro Chris Lindstrom and our left guard and Matthew Bergeron, right? We haven't got any update on any one of those guys yet. We know Matthew Bergeron had an ankle issue. He went out early in the game. Then Chris Lynch went out with a foot issue. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of those guys is going to be out for a while, especially looking at the move where the Atlanta Falcons actually signed offensive lineman, right? They got Kyle Hinton that they came in and filled in the role, and then they brought in the other. So they brought in 2 guards to fill in the roles. I couldn't really tell any difference. Probably why we couldn't run the ball. I don't know, but to bring in another offensive lineman is interesting. So we definitely going to wait till tomorrow to get the injury report. See can we get update on Chris Lindstrom, Matthew Bergeron, but bringing in Andrew Stubert, it's just going to know why they decided to do that. Bringing in another offensive lineman. They also signed a long snapper, Zach Tenner, to the active roster, and that's interesting because we got a long snapper already. So, I said we got to get some updates on this. We got to figure out what's going on with the long snapper, because we already got one. So they signed a long snapper to the active roster, and we already got one. So we'll definitely get to hear more about that in probably tomorrow when Raheem gives his press conference to give us what's going on with these signings that Atlanta Falcons made. Now the big signing they made, they brought in Zane Gonzalez, kicker. right? So Raheem did talk about he was actually going to bring in another kicker. So they decided to do that. They brought in another kicker in Zane Gonzalez, and they released Parker Romo, right? So he's been released. Um, and they also released the kicker off the practice squad, Ben Saul. So both of those guys being released as kickers. We still have an international kicker, Lenny Craig, on the team, and now we bring in Zane Gonzalez. So um, those are some of the roster moves. So let me tell you a little bit about Zane Gonzalez, and I have no idea how this better, right? So Zane Gonzalez have kicked 120 kicks in his career, field goals. He only made 96 of them. So he's sitting at 80% as a field goal kicker. So I don't know if this is going to be better, to be honest with you, right? And he's only 95% extra point. So he's not, so, he's been in the league. He's an older kicker, been in the league by, he's 30 years old. So he's been in the league a while, right? He's a journeyman kicker. But 80% as a field goal kicker is sketchy, man. I don't know where they're getting these kickers from, but that's it's, you know we'll see what happens. Maybe over time he has got better. Now over the last couple of years, his last stint, he's with the Washington Commanders. He only missed 2 kicks, right? Both of those was over 55 plus. So maybe he have improved over time. But like I said, 120 kicks, he only made 96. He's at 80% as a kicker. So that is really scary. Bringing in a kicker that's only 80%, when you get rid of kicker that was shaky. So I don't know, getting rid of Parker Romo is as good as bringing in this guy Zane Gonzalez. Now Zane is interesting, information about him because this guy has OCD, right? So he has, that drive and that motivation, to persevere, right? That's what he's been doing. It's a whole documentary about this guy, about how he's had to deal with this throughout his, life and his career and stuff like that. So um, it could be a feel good story, the end of the season for the Atlanta Falcons. If he comes in and he nails all the kicks and things like that. But, you know, the average don't lie, right? 120 kicks, 96 made. That's 80% as a kicker. And so I'm honestly, I can't wait to see, what was the reason about how bringing. I have never heard this kicker before, so, um, and most people don't know our kickers anyway. You only know the famous kickers that don't miss, right? That's what you really know. Or kickers that did some terrible stuff, like in the Super Bowl, right? I forget the kicker name in the Super Bowl, the Giants and the 49ers. I mean, in the NFC Championship game. Um, So it's some kickers that have lost big playoff games before, but Zane Gonzalez, you know, let's wish him well. Let's see. Obviously, he must have did really good in their tryouts that they had this week to go ahead and sign him and release Parker Romo. So we'll definitely get to take a look at him. Um, and he will be our kicker going into the Indianapolis Colts game. So um, this is the third kicker they don't have this year. So obviously, um, Terry Fontenot and his group, they know how to scout, you know, players, right? Other players, other positions, but they don't know how to scout kickers, obviously, because this is not good, right? We have lost games this season because of kicks. So, and it's just not good. So let me know what you think about these moves. Like I said, bringing in Andrew Stubert, we definitely gonna need to hear about Chris Lindstrom and Matthew Bergeron. Both of those guys went out in the game, and when they sign it, you see an offensive lineman signing, you know, on Tuesday after the game, it's kind of give you an eyebrow up. What's the issue with our two guards, right? And if one of those guys down, you know, it's not going to be good because we already lost Caleb McGarry for the year. We started a new center and Ryan Newsel. If we lose our All-Pro right guard and Chris Lindstrom, man, that's going to be bad. The whole right side, with us, new starting center, it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to work out. Running game is already having issues, so we definitely want to hear about that. So guys, let me know what you think about roster moves. The offensive lineman, the long snapper is interesting as well because we gotta, like I said, we have a long snapper. You don't really have two long snappers on your team, so we got to figure out what's going on with ours. And then the Zane Gonzalez, let's see what he's all about. So it's going to be interesting to see this week. I can't wait to hear from Raheem Morris tomorrow to find about the injury report and find out about all these moves that they made. Yeah, guys, 80%. I went look. I just wanted to see his average, and I'm like, man, 120 kicks, he only made 96. Man, that they probably could have kept freaking Young Way cool, man. Shit, if you're gonna do that. So I don't know. Look at some of these comments before we get to the last topic of the day. Eddie says, Falco, sometimes kicker redeemed themselves second go around. Zane was pretty good in clutch until he went through a difficult period. But I think, like, hey, that's the only reason, to me, that could be the only reason why they signing this kid. Because, I mean, he only 80%. So, like I said, over the last 2 seasons, he has been better. He only missed like 4 kicks over the last 2 seasons, right? So it's not like it's a big deal. But I'm just looking at his whole career. That's the 80%. So obviously, I would think that they're smart enough to bring in a guy that's shaky. I think they're bringing a guy to your point. Like I said, this guy deal with a lot of stuff, outside of football. With his disorder, he got OCD. So I think he might come out and shine. We'll see, right? I'm not sleeping on him yet. Hopefully, we figure the Falcons might be know what they're doing, but I still think that's kind of low for average. Ricky Gang says, "I'm sorry, but only." Racono was John Gruden hired by Rich McKay in Temple when Rich McKay was GM and fired Tony D. Morris might be the next Tony D. I don't remember if Rich McKay. I think he might have. I think Rich Mc. Well, I think Rich McKay was there when Raheem Morris got hired, if I'm not mistaken. So it could be the case. I was just talking to Eddie, as a matter of fact, about John Gruden. I think he would be a good hire. Now we know that all the situations he got with NFL and the whole email stuff and like that. But as a football mind, I think he's a good football mind. He was able to, take Tony Dungy's team and win the Super Bowl with it, right? And so he has a great offensive mind, and he has that football knowledge that the Atlanta Falcons probably would really, really could use. So we'll see, if he might be on the short list for the Atlanta Falcons. We don't know. But like I said, right now he's suing NFL and stuff. So his situation is really, really interesting. We'll see how that pans out. I do know he will still want to coach in the NFL, but I don't know if he ever gonna get another opportunity. So that's what it is about John Gruden. Kevin, would it be worth it drafting a kicker? Apparently, they growing kickers that can kick 70 yards in college. Yeah, man. We only seen a couple of teams draft kickers like in the 4th and 5th round. Usually, you're gonna draft a kicker in the 7th round. But I agree. I think they need to probably, invest in one this year out of college, right? Get somebody that's young, that's got a strong leg, like Brandon Artman. Like you get the kid from Dallas or the kid from Jacksonville just broke the record, this Sunday. Man, you got 3 points automatically. And those guys kicking straight. It's not like going to the right, it's going straight down the middle and long, right? So I agree, man. If you can go get a young guy that come in and is real confident, because really, when you think about kicking, man, it's all about confidence anyway. It's of course you got the technique and everything like that, but you got to know you gonna make this kick. I'm gonna kick it through the upright. You got to have a strong leg. You know, remember we thought Janikowski, Sebastian Janikowski, that's his name, right? From the Raiders, had a strong leg, right? Remember that, man. These guys make him look like nothing, right? So I mean, this is amazing, right? I mean, guys getting the 70. Kid made a 70-yard field goal the other day. That's crazy. So that is crazy. Ricky says the only concern with the kicker, him being thrown off his process, and he misses the kick at the point. I'd rather take my chances with Craig Creed. Yeah, and obviously they're not ready for Creed to get his opportunity yet. So I, you might as well. We know he got a leg on him. Creed, his accuracy might be an issue, but we know he has the leg distance. Um, but man, pressure bust pipes, man. Like I said, you got to have those kickers that I'm going here for to make the field goal. Like we had one of those guys. Y'all remember Matt Bryant? You know, he was Matty Ice too. That dude was Ice, man. He went out. He know he was making it, man. You know, his last year, they put him out there, and he was getting old. And he had to kick a long field goal, and I think he pulled a hamstring. And he was done. But man, that dude, it was automatic. We knew we got in the field goal range. It's 3 points. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was 3 points. We ain't had a kicker like that in a while, right? We thought it. Young Way Cool did that his first couple. That's why he got a big contract, but he fell off the last couple of seasons. So now the Atlanta Falcons, but they should have. This is another, and this could be the whole organization failure here because he missed like 8 kicks last year, and they should have brought in some real competition to start the season. They brought in Lenny Craig, who was an international guy that had never ever kicked in the NFL before in college stuff. You got to bring in some real competition. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons did that. So this is their failure or not having a field goal kicker that's competent. So definitely their issue. Special team coach will be next to go. Oh, he ain't lying, boy. He's gonna have some boo boos this year for real. I was thinking about him. Michael Bennett Jr. was on John Gruden show earlier before the season started. People will pay to see John Gruden coaching. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. He on my short list, but like I said, the whole issues with his off the field issues, stuff with the dealing with NFL, that has to be sorted out. And man, you got it. He probably said something. He probably did say some of the shit he said. I don't really know all the details of it. I never really paid attention to that kind of stuff because he wasn't on the Falcons. So, but some of the stuff, whatever he said in those emails and stuff did get him kicked out of the league. So, but it's always people always have an opportunity to have redemption and stuff like that. But yes, I think he's a good football mind, and he could definitely help the Atlanta Falcons out. If ball goes straight, it goes further. Yes, how that having that freaking how you got your golf swing and you like, man, I can't get rid of that slice, man. Like these kids be having these slices and stuff like that. Like kick the ball straight, man. So my favorite club in the golf bag is the 7-iron, right? So when I get that 7-iron out, hey, I know it's going straight. Go by 160, 165, get my 7-iron, it's going straight, right? Another club, I don't know, but that 7-iron, so they got to get they right club, and when they get ready to do that kick and kick that ball straight down the middle, man, and that's what they got to do. So you're right. If it goes straight, it goes far. Get rid of the slices, man, and your kicks. T. Terry said the Falcons are preparing to win the Super Bowl in 2028. Man, don't tell me. So you want us to wait another 3 years to be upset and sad? I don't want to wait 2028, but I'll be happy if they do wait it in 2028. Um, Gruden is he said Gruden is a ready coach. He turned down some college jobs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I think I agree with you. Gruden ready, man. Like I said, it's nothing about to me. It ain't not about him coaching. It's about the whole issues he got with NFL and stuff like that. And being, I mean, think about it. The Raiders gave him $100 million contract, and he got out. He got kicked out the league. So whatever happened, and you guys go back and read up on that, but it was enough to get him kicked out of the league when he had 10-year, $100 million contract. So he was going to be with the Raiders for a long time. So you got to think about that whole situation. Trying to get him back into the league. So that's where they're at. All right, guys, let's go to the last topic of today, and it's simple. It's just winning football, and so looking at the title that I have up here, one of the most frustrating seasons for a Falcon Nation, and it is, man. And the reason it's so frustrating because Atlanta Falcons have the talent, hands down, to be a really good team. They it's no doubt about it in my mind. The Atlanta Falcons have the team to win games, to get into the tournament, right? I'm not saying win the Super Bowl, but they have the team, and the players to to the get to the playoffs, man. They have that team, right? But they're just not playing winning football enough to 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 get there, right? Um, and I did a video about winning in the margins, right? And that's really how you win games, right? We the whole all the cliche talk about situational football stuff like that, right? But it's so true, right? And then the simplest thing you look at, you go back to the Patriots dynasty and the whole video they had, and Bill Belichick say, just do your job. So it's that's the simple thing when you and I think sometimes what happens with coaches, um, they complicate things, right? And when they complicate things, players stop doing their job and they trying to do what the coach is trying to tell them to do instead of just going out and playing football, right? I mean, when we grew up, when we was in high school and stuff like that, it was simple, man. You had this gap, right? That's your gap. You playing in this gap. Don't let nobody get in this gap. That's your gap. You know what I'm saying? The defensive end, what is your job, right? You want to contain. Make sure nobody get outside you. Don't crash down. Stay. You keep containment. Bring all the everything back inside. Simple football. Do your job. Do your job, right? Atlanta Falcons. This is the issues that that's what's taking place with this team, right? They're not playing winning football. I just give you some examples of some things. Um, the running game. We know that the Atlanta Falcons over the years, right, especially since this regime been here, Terry Fontenot regime, go back to Arthur Smith, right? This probably been probably one of the best running teams in the league since that time, right? That offensive line now, we know this year is different because we have a lot of injuries on this offensive line, but that's one thing the Atlanta Falcons have always been able to do, right? And something has happened, right? I know Caleb McGarry is one of the best run blockers in the league, right? But it's just going to the right side. But we're not able to run to the left side, up the middle, right? So we're not being able to just do something that the Atlanta Falcons, like I said, since 2021 has really been good at, and that's running the ball. So that's taken away from, you know, that winning formula for the Atlanta Falcons. We can't run the ball, right? Third down. Over the last 3 games, the Atlanta Falcons been about 25% on third down. That's not winning football. You're not going to win football games if you can't stay on the field on third down. I mean, that's how you it's complimentary football. If you don't even put points on the board, it's complimentary football because you need to get a couple third downs to give your defense rest. You don't want your defense on the field for 38 minutes, like we seen in the Dolphins game, right? That's not what you want to see, right? You have to get first downs, um, and third down is we talk about situational football, but that's one of the money downs. You have to be able to convert on third downs, and nowadays you really don't even have to convert on third down because a lot of teams go, start to utilize analytics, and they're going for it on fourth down as well. So when you want third down, you can a lot of times, depending on where you at on the field, you got 2 downs to get the first down, right? That's analytics, right? That's going away from the old coach way of coaching, and fourth down you punt the ball. But now, based off analytics, the probability and percentages, if converting on a 4th and 2, a lot of teams doing it, right? Go look at the Indianapolis Colts for an example. They do a lot of fourth downs. You go look with Detroit, Dan Campbell, they do a lot of fourth down. Dan Quinn, really aggressive in fourth downs. Now you can have guys like Staley out of the Chargers. He was terrible at it. He had the balls to go for it on fourth down, but a lot of times he didn't get it, and that's probably why he's not coaching the Los Angeles Chargers anymore. But the point I'm making is the fact that third down is winning football, right? You look at the best teams in the league. You go look at their third down percentage. That tells you about winning football. That's an indicator. If you can be like 45% or higher on third down, one of the best teams on third down last year was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Go look at they was the best team on third down last year, right? They got to the playoffs. So you can look at some indicators, in winning football and say if we are here, right? And that's where, as a coach, you have to have your milestones, because if you go look at that and you go look at the stat sheet, so we go look at the stat sheet from Sunday's game, and Atlanta Falcons lost by 1 point, right? And you can talk about the kick, you can talk about the grounding that Michael Penix had. You could talk about penalties. You talk about it. You could talk about so many things, right? But if you go look at third down percentage, it was 10% on third down on Sunday, and they lost by 1 point. If they 30% on third down on Sunday, they win the game. So that's one of the indicators, right? Turnovers. We talk about turnovers. That's another indicator, right? Once again, the Atlanta Falcons was +2 on turnovers, right? But then you go to the third down, so the correlation, it's not playing winning football, right? Because you got their defense was able to get the ball back to you twice, right? On a fumble recovery and on an interception. Now, one, you actually went and got points. I think he went and got points on both of those turnovers. But so that goes without saying. Defense complementary the offense to put points on the board, but the offense did not help the defense out about keeping drives, sustaining drives, and giving those guys breathers where they can come out and play their best when they do have to go back out and go up against the offense. So third down is huge. And then one of the things that's really, really irritates fans more than anything is the inner halves and the inner games operations on football, right? And we have seen the Atlanta Falcons have some miscues this year at inner halves and inner games. The Buffalo Bill games, Drake tried his best to get in the touch in the end zone, but they got away with no points there, right? They could have got in field goal range, at least put 3 points on the board. Now they didn't come back to hunt the Atlanta Falcons in that game. They won that game, right? But that hurt them. The San Francisco game, right? Michael Penix didn't get out the tackle box, grounding penalty in the half, right? 10-second runoff. That could have been a big momentum swing for Atlanta Falcons. Remember, Atlanta Falcons was 13-10 going into the fourth quarter, right? That's a big momentum swing. Winning football. The Giants game, right? Just recently, Aaron Snap, the young quarterback, could not get the ball, to receiver's feet, and he got a grounding penalty. Lost it down, 3rd and 20. You punt the ball. So winning, we just not winning, doing the winning stuff and winning football, right? So many other things you can look at. I talked about it yesterday. Darnell Mooney only having 2 targets, right? That's not winning football, right? When you target one of your receivers 14 times, but you target your number 2 receiver 2 times, it's not winning football. It's look good. The numbers look good for individual players, but you talk about a team, talking about winning football, you have to be able to distribute the ball across the field. And if that's not happening, it needs to be coached better or need to be called better. But it seems like if you listen to young Michael Penix when he talks, right, he just running the plays they call. He ain't putting no thought into it at all, right? Because he's still in his rookie season, for all intents and purposes, right? He haven't even had 17 starts yet. He's in his rookie season, so he just running the play that's called, right? So you have to put your quarterback in positions to distribute the ball, get his other players into the game. So when you could put more pressure on the defense, that we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that. Like I said, he target Drake London and Bijan a lot. Let's just be honest. Those 2 guys, and for our defensive coordinator going up against the Atlanta Falcons, I'm trying to stop Bijan Robinson and Drake London. If I do that, we probably gonna have opportunity success to beat the Atlanta Falcons, and that's where the Atlanta Falcons offense look right now. It's not winning football. It's not winning. Yes, 3 touchdowns. They got the dog in them. They trying to come out with a win by any means necessary. But you're making the game too hard, right? When you have to just always go to one person, you always got to go to your guy, and you could distribute the ball around because they all keying in on your top guys. But Darnell Mooney can play, right? We seen the guy have almost 1,000 yards last year. So most of that with Kirk Cousins, let's be honest. But Michael Penix can't get him the ball. Kyle Pitts, I think, had like 4 targets. He needs more targets as well. But we're just not playing winning football on the offensive side of the ball. And like I said, those winning plays down the stretch, in the half, in the games, things like that, they come back to bite the Atlanta Falcons, right? Missed the extra point, right? They start to pile up. You go back to the Dolphins games, a lot of penalties on special teams. Atlanta Falcons start terrible field position pretty much that whole game. So it's so many things that you can think about. And that's why NFL, football is the greatest sport in the world, because it's so many things that has to go right to win a football game, right? It's not just the offense, right? It's not just special teams, not just the defense. It's all everybody coming together and making it work to win the game. It's just that simple, right? You got 11 men on the field. If one man out of 11 don't do his job, the whole play can be blown up. That's just a fact, right? So that's why you have to love football. But these guys get paid a lot of money, man. It's their job. This is what they do. They got to figure it out, and it's not happening right now. So that's why it's so frustrating. That's because the talent is there, right? If you look at the young nucleus core that the Atlanta Falcons have, you kind of like what you see, right? And they all are flashing. They all are flashing, man. You see Rook Rororo, you see Brendan Dorless, you see James Pierce Jr., you see Jalen Walker, seeing Xavier Watts, you seen Billy Bowman before he went down, right? You seen Zach Harrison. You see the young talent. That's just defensive side of the ball, right? Go to the offensive side of the ball. We know how special Bijan is, when he get opportunity because it was late. We haven't seen it, because they don't shut it down, right? We see the trajectory. Michael Penix, he has a lot of growing to do. Let's be honest, guys. He's still young. He still is not where he need to be yet, but he has a lot of trajectory. Then that's what you don't want. You don't want his stunt his growth in playing the quarterback position, because if you do, you're gonna have issues. Guys, not reaching their full potential. And we've seen that in this league so many times, right? You look at the guy like Sam Darnold, who pretty much people, wrote off, man. Let's just be honest, right? Them years with the Jets, when he was talking about he was seeing ghosts and things like that, the stint he had at Carolina, they just weren't good years. And then he got with a coach, right? That know how to coach quarterbacks, and Kyle Shanahan. That 1 year in San Francisco kind of rejuvenated Sam Darnold's career. He goes to Minnesota, have a career year, and look what he's doing in Seattle right now. So, you have to put these quarterbacks in good situations, and that's what we don't want to see from Michael Penix. All right, we've seen the guy, throw for over 5,000 yards 2 years, 2 seasons in a row in the Pac-12 in college football, right? So he has the potential to do stuff, right? But if you're not going to make it advantageous for him, put him in the right positions to succeed, that's what you're going to get. So, you know, they're just not playing winning football, guys, and that's why at some point, um, it's probably going to be a change. It's just going to be right because they're not reaching their full potential, right? And you wasting away, you know, guys' talent because of that, right? I don't know if Justin Fields is going to ever be able to get it together, right? Because his growth was stunted so bad in Chicago, right? And then he goes to Pittsburgh, and you still don't see it yet, right? Now he's with New York Jets, and Aaron Glenn talking about he don't know who the starter is, right? You look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, he's probably gonna be out the league here soon or to another team, being somewhere because Daniel Jones came in, and you look at Caleb Williams, the way he looked last year, the way he looked this year, right? Ben Johnson come in, you know, get on him about some of the plays, stop playing hero ball, stuff like that, and play within the system, right? Because in the NFL you can't make all those hero plays. It just don't happen. It happens in college, but it's not happening in the NFL. So, but you have to put these guys in position. You see the talent, and that's why it's frustrating because the talent is there, right? It's not 22, outstanding football players, but you got 7 and 8 on both sides of the ball that if you put those guys in position, the Atlanta Falcons can really be really good this year, and that's why it's so frustrating. It's it's one of the most frustrating seasons ever, and now it gets worse because we probably gonna lose another offensive lineman. We don't know which one it is. We don't know if it's Christian Lynch. We don't know if it's Matthew Bergeron. We don't know if it's season ending. It's a couple of weeks. We don't know. So we got to wait till tomorrow to get an injury report on that. So it's not like it's getting any better, right? Atlanta Falcons already had their bye, right? We still got J.D. Bertrand playing linebacker. Divine Diablo probably another 3 weeks out, coming back from his broken forearm. We can't run the ball. Darnell Mooney ain't catching nothing. We don't have a third receiver, man. It's like so much, so much. And then we got an offensive coordinator who's still learning, right? He don't know how to get his guys in position. He don't know how to use Michael Penix to use his superpowers, man. He don't know how to use it, right? It's just so much to see, and then just not playing winning football, and that's where we're at right now. We're in a spot where we got 9 games left, and I'm starting to now like I don't know if they're gonna get the 9 wins. That's where it gets kind of scary because you don't know if you're getting 9 wins now, right? Especially you look at the Indianapolis Colts. They just traded for Sauce Gardner. They just lost, so they're gonna be, And I know don't believe the whole they're gonna be pissed thing, right? We pissed too. We lost 3 in a row, but they're playing really good football, right? They got a lot of weapons on the outside that we're gonna have to that we're gonna have to cover in our secondary, and then they got a potent running back, and Jonathan Taylor, who's been terrorizing the league. Right, I should know because I got him on my fantasy league, and I've been winning a lot with him. Right, so um, it's gonna be a big task for Atlanta Falcons. Right, so I don't know if they're gonna win that game. Then they play the Carolina Panthers game. Right, Carolina Panthers look good. We can say what we want to say, but they're not. They're not blowing the doors off teams, right? I mean, Bryce Young had 101 yards passing the other day, but they win the game against the Green Bay Packers, right? Rico Dotto, looking really, really good. Took Chuba Hurt starting spot, right? So those guys come in, they beat us 30-0. So they're confident. So I don't know if we're gonna win that game. I don't know anymore. We should get our revenge, but I don't know, right? And then we played it Aints. We know that game is a toss up, right? And they haven't won a lot, right? So here comes the get right team, Atlanta Falcons, and we'll lay an egg in that game. So I don't know how many games the Atlanta Falcons gonna win. Don't know, man, because I don't like what I see, right? I don't like what I see, right? I mean, offense just is not consistent enough, right? Defense plays well enough. Defense gave up 3 points on Sunday in the second half. 6 sacks, 2 turnovers, and we lost the game. Offense is not good enough. And we got all those weapons on offense, and we don't know what to do with them. It seems like it's so hard. I mean, I watch other teams play. I watched the Green Bay Packers play offense. I watched the Kansas City Chiefs play offense. Watch the Los Angeles Rams play. Man, they make football look easy on offense, right? With all their weapons. And I'm like, well, we got those weapons too. Why we can't do what they do? I don't know. So it is frustrating, guys. But this is the land we live in. If you're a Falcon fan, you're used to it. I hope so. I hope you're used to it anyway. But we thought times was changing. We was feeling good. We come in off season and we talk about, man, if the defense can play well, man, it's gonna really be good. Everybody putting out there 27 to 30 points a game for this offense, and we barely clipping 20. And it's like the same old song for this Atlanta Falcons offense. Now and before, right, you can point to the offense and say, turnovers and things like that. Because Desmond Ridder was here. That's all he was doing, turning over the ball. Well, Michael Penix's not turning over the ball, right? And he actually played really, really good in the fourth quarter. Most of he does, man. You go look, but that start to the middle of the game is not. It's not producing for us. So, and I feel it's the coaching, but we're not going to see a coaching change with that. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Let's get these comments in right here. Got some coming in. What's this says? MPG was on John Gruden's show earlier before the season started. People will pay to see it. Yeah, we talked about that one already. Yep, we talked about that one. That one as well. Right here. Jay Gruden, Skip Bailey said the show today that they like Michael Penix Jr., they like Drake quarterback, New England, and Denver quarterback. I like Michael Penix, man. People thinking, and for me, this is what I expect from a young quarterback. right? He don't make a lot. He don't turn the ball over, so he's not turnover happy and giving the ball to other teams, right? That's to me is where like, man, you don't know if he ever going to get it. That's what happened with Desmond Ritter. He was just giving the ball away too many times, right? And losing games. Michael Penix don't do that. It's just those little things that he need to work on. He needs to use athleticism more, right? If he uses athleticism more, I think it would benefit him, right? And the problem with it is that it's why it's so interesting for him because if you go back to his early years in college, that's how he played. And I know he got injured, right? So it's probably something in his mind where, you know, the limit injuries stop running so much. But he has the athleticism. I mean, you guys seen it that scramble he had in the New Year's game. He looked like the fastest guy on the field at that time. So he has the ability to actually use the athleticism, and he probably should use it more. I think that opened an offense, but Michael Penix is running what the coaches call, and he said that. He said that in his press conference. I'm pretty much just I'm running what they call. He would ask the question about the run game, why they only ran the ball, ran Bijan 9 times. He was like, I'm just running the play that's called. He said that's a coach's question, right? So he just young quarterback. He's not there yet where he like we need to do some other stuff. Go have the confidence. Tell the coach this is what we want to see. And once he get to that point, I think it'll work out for him better. But he needs to start using legs more, man. And Zach Robinson need to put in more bootlegs, right? You know what's happening now is a lot of ends on the backside are just coming down the lane. They and so they can be John getting tackled on the backside. Like that's an easy thing to get them out of that. Keep it, bootleg back out, bootleg back out. If they're gonna crash down like that, because like I said, assignment that defense ain't supposed to contain. Don't let nobody get outside him. So if he's coming up the field and crashing right down the line of scrimmage, just a keeper, man. Like I'm just man. I'm saying, man. How about the offer and Bertrand running around like chickens with their head cut off? I know, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, JD Bertrand he is so bad. Like if I'm watching the Atlanta Falcons and if they playing matchup football on offense, because a lot of teams do that. Atlanta Falcons probably should do it more, right? Matchup football, but whoever JD Bertrand grabbing and guarding, I'm going at him. I'm going at him. That's what I'm doing, man. I'm going at him. The guy, he's not it, man. I'm sorry. Hell no. The offer been playing a little bit better. He been playing a little bit better. But don't put him on tight ends. Don't like that. Don't put him on tight ends. John Moreno said, "What up, Ricondo? Offense? Who is the offensive coach of Seattle?" Yeah. Man, you're right, man. I'm not arguing with you no more about that. Honestly, for me, what I want, and I was talking to Eddie about this earlier. I would think that Atlanta Falcons should go get Grubbs from Alabama. That's Michael Penix, old offensive coordinator from Washington, and let him do what he do, man. Let him do what I'm not saying we want to be a complete passing team, but we got Bijan, so you're gonna run the rock. But man, let Michael Penix do what he do. Now they got to go get weapons for him to do that because right now Atlanta Falcons don't have the weapons he had like that he had in Washington. But to me that should be a start. Go get you want to tailor your offense to your guy, right? You don't want that guy to try to tailor himself to you. You want to tailor your offense to him, and if they can do that, you know that would be awesome. Anyways, actually, Brian Greasy coached Sam Darnold in San Francisco and Kelvin O'Connell, who was a good quarterback developer under Sean McVay, continued to develop in SD in Minnesota. Same goes for Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Uh, whoever, whoever under that tree, that Shanahan tree, whatever, right? Because Brian Greasy, Mike Shanahan, whoever on that Shanahan tree, they know what to do with quarterbacks. It goes without saying. Man, freaking Kyle Shanahan took Jimmy Garoppolo to the Super Bowl. Like Kyle Shanahan, he took Brock Purdy. Look at Brock Purdy, man, Mr. Irrelevant, right? Like he know how to coach quarterbacks. You get somebody in that system, you're gonna put him in the right position. And with a skill set like Michael Penix, he would thrive in a system like that. The saddest part about it is Zach Robinson is from that tree. He's from the Shanahan tree. It's just not translating, man. I don't know. I don't know. But good point. Uh, can't believe Atlanta Hawks is on stream TV. Oh snap! I know they on stream TV, but they ain't got no Trey Young. I'm gonna tell you, man, the Hawks, man. You talking about the Hawks? They underachieving, man. I thought they were gonna have a really good season. All those moves they made in the off season, it's Atlanta sports, man. Atlanta sports cursed. It's Atlanta sports cursed. I don't know what it is, man. Like, damn. I'm in Galveston, Texas. Did Kirk get traded? No, he did not get traded. Atlanta Falcons didn't make any trades today. Sell or buy. They didn't do either. They did make 4 roster moves. You want to hear about that? Go back to the beginning of the show when I talked about that. They brought in offensive linemen. We don't know which one of the offensive linemen is hurt. We'll see tomorrow. They got a new kicker. They let Parker Romo go and brought in a guy whose career average is 80%. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, we already know. But Raheem ain't changing nothing, so it is what it is, man. Zach Robinson probably wants to go up to Minnesota where his buddy is a Colonel. Man, I hope Zach Robinson go to Oklahoma State. I don't want him to get fired. Like I said, because I think you listen to him talk, he has offensive mind. He just ain't ready yet. He ain't ready yet. He don't know. He needs some more tutelage. And like I said, go coach your own team and go coach your own team and go, that's what they need. Go coach your own team in college and get more experience. Then come back and do the darn thing. But right now, he ain't got what it takes, man. I'm sorry. I ain't with it. That's just me. I ain't with it. My doing camera gonna go off again. I don't want it to go off. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. See, it went off again. Mm-mm-mm. I'm gonna get it, guys. Sorry about that. We got it. We got it. We got it. Like live screen, right? When stuff happens, you be like, oh, I don't know what to do. All right, but guys, Atlanta Falcons just do not play winning football, and we to the point now where like I used to be like excited to see Atlanta Falcons especially after that Minnesota game, right? And then they laid the egg in Carolina. And then you thought they got it out their system when they played the Commanders and Buffalo back to back. Okay, okay. Then they played Miami. No, they played San Francisco, and they went back to not being able to do things that they should be able to do. And that in that San Francisco game, I just don't understand how you let Chris McCaffrey go off on you like that. I don't understand that, man. For nothing in the world. It's like everybody in the world knows that Kyle Shanahan want to get Christian McCaffrey the ball, and he just dominated the whole game. Like, what kind of game plan you had to stop him don't make sense. Then we lose to Miami. Then we don't play winning football in Buffalo. I mean, in New England. So here we are, right? So guys, there you have it. Please make sure that you're up at 9:30 on Sunday to watch our Atlanta Falcons play. Hopefully, they can come away with a win. They need to get it takes out of the mouth. Raheem said it. We need to find a way to get a win. And you really do. You need to find a way. Right? We know the Indianapolis Colts going to come in hungry. They just traded for Sauce Gardner, giving up a lot. They gave up a lot for him. They gave up 2 first-round picks and a young receiver for Sauce Gardner. So we're gonna they gonna come out like it's gonna be worth it. Man, that owner, she ain't playing. She trying to win the Super Bowl, right? I like the aggressiveness. I like the aggressiveness from the Indianapolis Colts. I like the aggressiveness from the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, I even like the aggressiveness from the Dallas Cowboys, right? Even though they're 3-5-1, the fact that they went and tried to fix their issues, getting Quentin Williams is going to be huge. Getting Logan Wilson is going to be huge. Now, they still don't have no secondary, so we're going to see if they still can get pressure on the quarterback, so they secondary won't get exposed. But at the same time, man, I love these moves by these teams going for it. And it's kind of sad that Atlanta Falcons felt like they couldn't. They don't have what it because I don't. And this the mindset you got to think. I don't know how we're not in the front office with Terry and all that. Well, first of all, they don't have that much on cap space, so that speaks for itself, right? Because they made a mistake, and now we know it's a mistake. At the time, nobody felt like it was a mistake when they gave Kirk Cousins $180 million, right? Some people did. Let me take that back. A lot of people did. A guy coming off of Achilles injuries, who's 36 years old. A lot of people felt like that they shouldn't have did that, right? So I'm not gonna say it was unanimous that everybody felt like that was the way to go. Some people wanted Atlanta Falcons to go after Russell Wilson, who was only going to get paid $2 million, or Justin Fields. Now, in hindsight, if you knew you was going to draft Michael Penix, one of those moves probably would have been better, right? Because they really put Atlanta Falcons in there, and they still owe him $10 million next year, so that's guaranteed. They picked up that before the league year started, so that's 10 years they owe him next year. So if they cut him, that's 10 million going in the dead cap for Kirk Cousins. So it's just that domino there. So the question is, when we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons, not going for it here in the trade deadline like so many other teams did, where their mindset was, we got what we need to win, so we don't need to make any drastic moves, or they like, we don't have enough, so one move is not going to help this team, right? So that's the question, right? Did they believe that one move, they get one move, it'll put them over the top, and they can go for a Super Bowl run, or they feel like it was just too many holes and this team ain't ready to compete for a Super Bowl, so don't mortgage the future. You know what I'm saying? That's the way you can look at it. We would never know. Like some people saying, well, they on their way out anyway, so Arthur Blank's like, nah, we ain't let y'all make no moves. You went with this team. We put all that money in this team. figure it out. And if you don't, you go. That could have been the could have been the conversation. We don't know, but with this team, it is flawed, man. You look at the receiver core. It's flawed. Didn't realize how flawed it was to now looking at it. It's not where we want it to be from that standpoint. Um, but I believe if they use Kyle Pitts more, will supplement for not having that third receiver, on the squad. And then you got to get Darnell Mooney involved. That's another big thing. Um, the linebacker depth it's been exposed, right? Devon Diablo going out. We really don't have no. But actually, in my opinion, to be honest with you, I think Josh Wood probably be better than JD Bertrand. They got him playing special teams, but I think he probably be better than JD Bertrand. I think DeMarco Hellams probably would be better. I just he's not he is not what it is, man. I'm just sorry. And honestly, guys, that last play wasn't his fault. That was a good pick. It was within the 1 yard. So, and then you can do about it. And if Rouse wasn't calling that, it was a good pick. That was a good play call, man. Um, only way you defend that play if who was guarding, who was inside. So JD Bertrand, they was playing man to man. That was his man, right? So when they had that natural pick, he got picked, so he had to go over the top, right? If they switch that, that's really the only way. But they have to have that communication. They have to be in the game plan. You got to kind of figure out that's where they was trying to go with the ball. Like you got to watch enough film and be able to know that's their bread and butter play. Because it seemed like and just Josh McDaniel, right? He's been coaching for a long time, so that was a natural pick. They call it a rub on offense. Defense don't call it a pick because he did get picked. He had to go over the top, and it was the end of the game. So, but so that play wasn't really JD Bertrand's fault, but it was some plays on there. I mean, putting him against tight ends, it ain't gonna work. He can't guard no tight ends, no receivers, no running back. I don't know what he can do. He can't tackle in the middle. Like in the San Francisco game, he's right in the hole, and he let the dude run right past him, man. Like maybe he's scared to get a concussion because he do have the guardian cap on. He had a concussion last year. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But man, linebacker's supposed to be headhunter. And then you looking at a guy like Nate Lemon, right? Guy that we let go doing the peanut punch, the other day. Just that guy is a ball hawk. He did it with Atlanta last year, right? He don't have the speed, but he's a downhill thumper. Go back and look at him when he played in Colorado. That's what he does. That's the kind of linebacker we need right now, downhill thumper, right? We don't need a guy in coverage, right? You can supplement, they got putting Ronnie Harrison out there, and passing down and things like that, but you need a downhill rumper, somebody going to fill that hole, and Nate Lemon would have been really good for that, but he's not here. Of course, Troy Anderson would have been better. Troy Anderson would have been pretty good in coverage as well, but, it seems like he's not going to play this year. Don't know what his injury was. We assumed that he was going to be back sometime, but it seems like he's not coming back. And so that's why our linebacker depth is so poor. So many things that the Atlanta Falcons need to work on, here. They're close, for us, team building aspect. They really close. Now, a lot of guys coming up for contracts. So they got to figure that out, right? We got Drake. Drake is his 5th year is next year, so they don't have to pay him this year. They can't wait next year to pay him. Kyle Pitts is in his 5th year. They got to make a decision on Kyle Pitts. Bijan is going into his 4th year next year, right? So, Michael Penix going to his 3rd year. Those are your offensive players. You got Jesse Bates probably going to his last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You got to figure out if you're going to keep him on the roster. Zach Harrison is going to his 4th year next year. So you got some of your young, talented core that's coming up for contracts and stuff. So You know, they gotta build through the draft. That's why getting draft capital would have been important. That's why, being sellers with guys like Armando Katie, Tyler Algier, guys that ain't gonna be here next year, right? Would have been nice to recoup some of that draft capital so you can build your team through the draft. That's what they should have been doing. So um, look at these last couple comments, and we're gonna be out of here. Do you think Bill Cowher will come out of retirement and coach the Falcons? No, we don't know. Bill Cowher too old, man. I don't want Bill Cowher. He only won one Super Bowl. He did win a Super Bowl though. Pitts is no Brock Bowers. Of course not. This is not Brock Bowers. I'm not saying that. Brock Bowers is going to be. That's what Brock Bowers doing what Pitts did his first season. He just continue doing it. He did it last year, doing it again this year. JD looked like the men that play on my son's high school team. Yeah, man, that dude. I don't want to talk bad about the guy, man, but he ain't that, man. I'm telling you, I think Josh Wood would be ready. D'Angelo Malone do better. Like, it's so many players they can put in that spot, man. That's their politics in football crap. That's why coaches get fired too. It's on them, right? Ain't no loyalty in football, man. Like, you trying to win. This ain't little league when everybody get a participation trophy. It ain't what it's about, right? You ain't getting the job done. You ain't getting the job done. And every time you look at the game, they picking on him. It is what it is. It's the truth, right? And then that's that. I can't think of his name. Um, One of our linebackers. He got so many tackles with the Atlanta Falcons. I can't think of his name, but he always got tackles down the field, right? You look on the street like, oh, he got 10 tackles, but all the tackles was 7-8 yards down the field, right? He played for Georgia Tech. I can't think of his name, guys. He's on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, like, all things ain't created equal, man. Right? You get a lot of tackles, but you talking 8-7 yards down the field, don't mean nothing. Don't mean anything. Just getting a lot of tackles. So 3 dirty, and so, man, that's what it is, guys. I enjoyed talking to you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in to this Atlanta Falcons channel. Like I said, this through week 9, right? They still got 9 games left, right? The Falcons went out, they can go 12-5. We know that's not going to happen, but they could, right? It's still a possibility. They might find a lightning in the bottle, man. They'd be like, what just happened, right? Right? Because we've seen it a couple of times this year, right? Maybe a switch just cut on and they just go cuckoo, right? And just dominate, the rest of this season. It could happen, right? Just like 3 days said, 2 impossible. It could happen. Could happen, man, right? So you never say never. Do I think it's gonna happen? Hell no, man. I'm already picking out some losses, man. I'm picking out, and these just the ones that I kind of just figuring they're gonna lose. They might lose some other games too, but I think they're gonna lose Sunday against the Colts. They're gonna lose against the I think they're gonna lose against the Cardinals. They're gonna lose against the Cardinals. I think they're gonna lose against the Seahawks, and I think they're gonna lose against the Rams. So that's 4 more games, right? So that'll put them at 9 losses, 8-9, 8-9, and that's if they don't lose those other, because they got to play the Panthers, they got to play the Aints twice, they got to play the Jets, right? So those are the 4 games I think they could win, but I'm not like saying they're gonna win those games. Just being honest with you, man. Just being honest with you. So I think they go 5-4, and I'm being generous. Oh, they play the Bucks again too in Tampa, so that could be another loss. So I think they go. Like I said, I think they lose 4 games, maybe 5 more games. They might go 7-8. That's more more the Atlanta Falcons speed, right? They might go 7-10, right? Because that's usually what we do. We went 7-10 for 3 years, then we went 8-9. I think we need to go back to 7-10, right? Then we do that, right? That first round pick that the Rams got from us is gonna be a nice pick. Can't even make this up, man. Can't make it up. I'm not being a party pooper guy, just being honest, right? 330 said 12-5. What no drink. I'm just saying that all I'm saying is that it's 9 games left. They could win the rest of the games. Right? Never say never, man. It's ending game Sunday. That's what I'm saying. All right. Guys, thank you for tuning in today. If like go back and listen to my first points that I talked about. I talked about the trade deadline, how the Falcons was no show. I talked about the roster moves. We got 4 roster moves that took place. The biggest one is sign the offensive lineman in Stubert. That means one of our offensive linemen probably is going to be out for a time period. And Christian Instrom, Matthew Bergeron, we'll find out tomorrow more from Raheem Morris about one of those guys or both of those guys. We'll see the status on them. We got a new kicker and Zane Gonzalez, right? Guy who's 80% field goal percentage for his career. Don't understand that, but maybe he improved. We'll see. They brought in a long snapper too, so we got to see what's going on with McCullum. If he's out or whatever, not sure about that. So, but those are some of the things. And then we talked about winning football, where Atlanta Falcons is not doing enough for winning football, right? Please like, share, and put your comments down. We can converse later on all those things. But this is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.